Hello, my name is Marlene, here to talk to you about my language learning game, Japanese Gakusei. Anyone who has loved anime or anything pertaining to Japanese culture might have wondered what it would be like to learn the language or go to school in Japan. The player's goal in this game is to learn the Japanese language, starting with spoken words and phrases through different minigames and levels. The game also has some storytelling elements, so the player's secondary goal is to progress the story. Learning the language will help with this as more and more Japanese will be used in the story. In Japanese Gakusei, the player is a high school exchange student attending school in Japan. They know very little of the language and are surrounded by Japanese students constantly speaking foreign words. The player will be guided by NPC students and teachers who know English, but the overwhelming presence of mainly Japanese speakers will help provide immersion and push the player to learn the language. The player will attend classes that will help them learn Japanese. Each class will cover the topic and give a list of vocabulary for the player to memorize. The player will then get a study break where they can play mini games to help solidify what they learned in the lesson. Mini games will include memory, flashcards, multiple choice, whack-a-mole, and listening. After class, there will be a short story cinematic, only a minute or two long. The visuals are a simple pop-up text box, much like in a dating sim where you cannot control the movement of the character. In the beginning, the player will have an English-speaking friend to help translate any Japanese. As the player learns the language, they will be able to start following along with what is being said in Japanese. Here is how level 1 will work. The level will begin with a short dialogue to introduce the character in the game. Once class begins, the player will be given their first 10 words to memorize. After the lesson, they will enter into their study break. Once the player has chosen to end their study break, they will enter into the after-class dialogue. This dialogue is simple and short, a couple-minute-long conversation to make use of the words the player just learned in real sentences. Once they have read through the dialogue, they will be routed to the screen where they can choose to move on to the next lesson or review a previous one. The game will have at least 3 levels or classes, but language learning is expansive, so there will always be room for more levels and gameplay. Minigames can also be added or changed. My Japanese Coach for the DS is the game that inspired this idea. Minigames are used to help the player exercise use of their new language skills. Koe is another similar game in that it teaches Japanese through an RPG experience with plenty of storytelling. The major risk that might pose a problem with this game is the lack of Japanese that the team might know. In order to help mitigate this issue, there will be a Google Doc with the Japanese word in Romaji and the English translation next to it. This will make it easy for the team to quickly search for a word using Control F to search. Thank you for listening to my presentation about Japanese Gakusei. Please follow the link in the description for my list of resources, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.